The canary scene at the end. That was about like 1.5 to 2 minutes long, with just a canary looking at the Goblin Slayer on the ground and blinking. When I first watched that scene, I was like, what? Like, this is really lazy. That was honestly my first thought when I saw that at the end of the episode. I was like, this is just straight up lazy, that they added a 2-minute scene, which is beautiful music, which, by the way, was great, but just a canary blinking. But then some told me on social media, apparently there was supposed to be credits on that, and apparently Crunchyroll messed up, and basically it wasn't there. So yeah, that's the reason why it was blank, why there was really nothing going on for that long. It was supposed to be like the ending segment of the episode, which it technically was, but it was supposed to have credits rolling on who made the episode, worked on it, etc., etc., but it wasn't there. But there you go, that's some quick clarification if you're wondering about that final scene of the episode. It kind of sucks that Crunchyroll messed up that bad, because honestly, I think that probably removed a lot of emotional impact that this episode could have given a lot of anime only, such as myself, if it wasn't ruined by something like that. But okay, dropping it, let's talk about the sheer quality of this episode. And one scene in particular I want to talk about is this scene with the Goblin Slayer, when his eye shines, and he just is like, no, and all that, and you just see him get up, and he just has blood pouring off of him. It's a incredible scene. As someone that's an anime only, and really not knowing what to expect, that was just straight up shocking, just to see the man literally looking through his helmet. You just see the little slits in his helmet. He's looking for the slits in his helmet, and you just see his entire party just getting destroyed. You know, you see how they're screaming, and you just hear the echoing sound of the entire party, and I loved the way it was very symbolic, like the parallels to the scene where he was under the floorboard watching what happened to everyone around him when the goblins invaded his village, and it was comparison to what was happening in this episode when he was watching what was happening to everyone around him while he had his helmet on. It was a great scene. I love those parallels, I love the symbolism, and I just love the audio. It really made that scene just so scary, eerie, and you're just like, oh my god, like, what's gonna happen and all that, and just like, honestly, in that moment, I thought everybody was pretty much going to die. Goblin Slayer, I'm assuming, was going to live, but I thought everybody else was going to die just because of how horrifying it was, what was going on. Everything literally went to hell. Nothing happened good for them at all. Like, you had it to where the priestess, she had a chunk bit out of her arm. You had the high elf, she was getting pushed to the ground by the goblins. You had the lizard boy, he was going in trying to fight and all that, and he couldn't really do nothing. The dwarf was doing everything he could to get to the high elf. It was just a really bad situation, and just seeing how the Goblin Slayer's just sitting back and all, like, crushing the wall, and you just see the blood pouring out of his mask or his helmet, and you just see how he's just sitting there, and then all of a sudden you hear the echoey sound of someone talking in the background saying, like, you want to slay goblins and all that. I'm assuming is the Goblin Slayer's master, mentor. That's what I'm assuming, because judging by the dialogue, I rewatched that scene quite a few times just to kind of see what was going on there. I'm assuming that was basically the Goblin Slayer remembering his master's teachings, like his words, and it kind of made him sit up, and he's like, you know what, I can't just, go down here. I gotta keep fighting, and I gotta make sure that I stand back up for, nobody else has to die. And he didn't want to feel like someone that was doing nothing, just sitting back watching people die. He wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to do something, which I think explains a lot of the Goblin Slayer's PTSD, or what is wrong with him in the first place, which, holy crap, like, this was a good episode for a lot of reasons, just to clarify more about Goblin Slayer's past. But, okay, before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about that flashback, okay, or the little sequence to when he goes into rage mode, and he takes down, the Goblin Champion, and he makes all the other goblins just run away, and he saves the party, but in turn, he falls down, and we don't really know what's going to happen to him. I want to assume he's going to live, since the series is called Goblin Slayer. I'm assuming he's going to be okay, unless a new Goblin Slayer is born. For instance, one of these group of the party members become the new Goblin Slayer. I'm assuming our MC, the Goblin Slayer, he's going to be A-okay. But talking about the, the little sequence, though, you see in that little scene the dice start flipping through the sky. And when I first watched this scene, I thought it was like the game master, like the dungeon master talking. Like, when you're playing a game and all that, and the dungeon master is setting up the scenario of D&D and all that, that's what I thought was going on. Like, the dungeon master was setting up the scenario, and most likely that is the case. But I was like, whoa, that's interesting that the dice is rolling while this is, being said. And if you look very closely when the dice was in the air, you see the snake eye, you see how it's glowing red, and you see the, aura effect coming off of it. And then all of a sudden, you see how Goblin Slayer's eye has the exact same effect, which I'm assuming is a reference to the dice that was thrown. For instance, most likely a proper roll that he needed was hit, and the Goblin Slayer was able to get back up and fight. That's what I'm assuming. That's what I'm assuming the dice actually meant in that moment. It's basically like a D&D roll. Can they get out of there, or will, he, have bad luck and he won't make the roll he needs, and, he will die or something, or everybody else will get wiped. I mean, I'm assuming that's what that entire segment actually meant. But okay, let's talk about Goblin Slayer's personality, what we learned in this episode. Number one, it seems like Goblin Slayer, he knows what a bird is. Okay, I know I'm joking, but yeah, apparently he knows what a bird is. He didn't ask what a bird was and all that, and it's not like a dangerous weapon. He's like, no, it's just a bird. You know what a bird can do and all that? Just talking down to the high elf, which was pretty hilarious. But okay, let me get serious though. The Goblin Slayer, it shows how he is heavily burdened by his demons in the past. What happened to his village? What happened to his family? When he starts remembering what happened and his mentor was basically talking down to him saying, you just sat back under the floor just watching everybody getting slaughtered. You didn't do anything. I think that meant a lot to the man. And it means a lot to where, he doesn't want to be in that situation anymore, to where he's so powerless, he's so scared that he won't keep moving forward and do something. And so you can see how far his insanity went when he continued to push his body at the brink. I mean, the man was literally just puking up blood. You see blood just pouring off him as he's walking towards the goblins, and it looks like he's literally a dead man walking. And when he's just sitting there standing before the goblins, all that, after the goblin champion was taken down, he's like, who's next? You want to come at me? You want to come at me? And he's just looking at him. That's some scary stuff. It just shows that this man, his hatred for goblins is on a whole other level, but there's so much more to it. It's that he doesn't want to feel powerless anymore. He wants to feel like, he can actually do something. As long as he still breathes, he wants to be able to do anything in his power that he still can do, which is just amazing. So, yeah, good stuff in this episode, especially for the Goblin Slayer's personality and characterization, all that we learned about him. It honestly just blew me away. Now, let's talk about just the scene in general and how well done it was in terms of the execution, how everything went wrong so quickly. Honestly, when the protection barrier went down and you see the Goblin Slayer just get knocked back, it went really bad. You just see how the priestess gets grabbed, and when you just see her get bit by the Goblin champion, you're like, oh my God, honestly, I thought it was the end of her in that moment when she's just sitting there screaming and stuff, and then you just see how the high elf gets jumped, and you're like, oh no, this is a repeat of the first episode, and then the dwarf, you see how the dwarf is sitting there fighting, trying to get over. It's just, the emotions in that scene is really impressive. I'm really impressed by the way this episode delivered so many good quality scenes and kept me interested from start to finish. I mean, honestly, this is probably the best episode of Goblin Slayer to date. It's probably going to be surpassed before everything is said and done with this series when we reach the finale of Goblin Slayer's anime, but I will say right now, at this time, this was the best episode. I love also that 3D scene where it rotates around the Goblin Slayer. It reminded me a lot of the Matrix. I'm just like, man, they really went all out on this episode. And like I said, it's kind of awful that the final part of this episode kind of ruined all its emotions because of the way Crunchyroll handled it. But looking past that, though, just, man, what an episode. What an amazing episode of Goblin Slayer. So, if you've been looking forward to seeing more goblin slaying and some really crazy stuff, you got it in this episode. There was a lot of emotion. I really don't know what to expect right now. How Goblin Slayer's going to make it out of this. How much he's going to change after or not. It might make him regress as a person because, he just had, an experience that reminded him of the first time that his village was attacked by goblins. So, for all we know, he might regress as a person and shove everybody away because he doesn't want them to get hurt. But at the same time, if he didn't have everybody there, he probably would have already have died. So, there's so many things to really throw in, a lot of variables about this situation. It makes me wonder where Goblin Slayer's character is going to go after this. Also, one quick thing, I really, really love just the poison scene. It's not really like a crazy scene compared to everything else that happened within this episode, but I just love just how all the characters came together to really just handle the situation. Goblin Slayer using the canary to be able to figure out poisons coming through, to the dwarf using his weathered magic to be able to like turn the stuff they used on the wall to fill the holes with the poison coming in into concrete. I really appreciate this scene. It's just the little things in, anime in general that I really appreciate, and I don't think I want this scene to go unnoticed, especially when it comes to writing standpoint. I really like that because there's just so much you can really learn about how Goblin Slayer is as a character just because of how much he prepares to deal with goblins. I mean, he even knew that goblins most likely were going to be using poison against him, and he was ready for that. So just really cool stuff, and I hope the series continues to surprise me with little details like this. But I think I want to end it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this amazing episode that honestly just blew me away. It felt too short to me. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.